Are you sure you want to do another fuel system video?
Yeah, it's very important stuff. You can't just be some mechanic off the street. You gotta be handy with your tools, if you know what I mean.
Okay. What's in that box?
It's a regulator.
What are you going to do with those?
Mount them up. All right, we're back. Today we are going to plumb the fuel system on a 1987 Chevy C10 with dual tanks. We've done it before, but we've learned a ton about them in the past from the ones that we've done, and we're going to share all that info with you today, okay? So let's get started on it.
Let's do it.
All right, so today we are going to be working in the back portion of our shop, which we don't do videos in a whole lot, primarily because it's the coldest spot in the shop. It does not have heat in it, but it's where we do our front end alignments. And so we have our alignment machine over here and 2 alignment machines for some reason. Okay. And then this hoist, and we built this, a few years ago. Yeah. And we just kind of never got it finished, but it is a great area for me to work in because it's further away from her office, is what she says.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So today we are working on Raul and Vita's 1987 C10. It's red. We always complain about the red trucks, but we really don't care. It just happens to be red, and it's a really, really nice rust-free truck from Texas, okay?
Yes.
So we are going to plumb its fuel system today, and it's going to get a top-notch dual tank fuel system going for this thing, so it's problem-free, all right? So in the past, what we've done with a dual setup, and I know you've gone back and watched those videos time and time again, we ran one fuel pressure regulator, and then we ran our return lines back to this valve, and it would switch our return to match whichever fuel pump was running, okay? And we did that with a total of 2 relays to do that. And one day, Brian, the guy with the other red C10, okay?
Yeah.
He called me and he said that he was driving down the road and he ran out of gas. And then he looked over, flipped the tank, noticed all of his gas from his right-hand tank is in his left-hand tank all of a sudden. So the way I built that system, I knew the only way that could possibly happen would be for that valve to fail, or stick open, or something would have to go wrong with that valve. Now it didn't leave him stranded because he knew that he had a tank full of gas still. It wasn't pumping it out on the ground or anything.
Yeah.
Right? But it was just putting it in a different tank, so he fired up the left-hand tank then and made it where he had to go. But I didn't like hearing that. We have that system running on other trucks and haven't had that problem, but it did happen once, and if you know me, the once is enough, and I'm gonna fix that solution, or I'm gonna fix that problem. And that's what I did. I drove to Tulsa, I picked that truck up, I brought it back here, and I put 2 regulators on it, like what we're gonna do today, and I got rid of this, okay? And then I also got rid of 1 relay, because I didn't need it to run that.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I didn't do that before is because in the past, we're always on a tight budget, and that was like the most inexpensive thing for me to do, but still be reliable. But it proved that it may not be reliable once, so here we go, okay?
Yeah.
All right. I shouldn't throw that, it's brand new.
Oh,
no. All right, so the people are gonna say to us, and I'm not gonna harp on it too much and get my blood pressure up again, because we have talked about it in the past. C5 Corvette filter regulator, okay? I do not use them, I hate them. The C5 Corvette was a terrible car. There's nothing more you can say about them. Terrible idea. I'll show you here in a little while, but anything that they have to put a ground strap on you know that they go, oh, it's gonna leak and then it's gonna catch fire. So let's put a ground strap on it to stop it from catching fire.
Yeah, really.
So, but I don't like them. The reason being I don't like them is because I had one leak on me one time. And also I thought it'd be interesting to take one apart and show what's inside of it, okay? And inside of one of those is that, okay? That's your filter. And it's a 5 micron filter, which is the same as what we're going to use, but that's the size of it, okay?
It's just a little fella.
Yeah, that's about the same size as the little filter that goes in the front of the quadrajets.
Yeah, really.
Okay, and inside it, all you have is a cartridge type regulator. Okay, and it's not serviceable or anything. This is a one-time use. If you buy a good one, a nice quality one, you're looking in the $60, $70 range for a high quality one. And when I say high quality, I'm saying that is like kind of a joke. Okay? Because there is no such thing. Now, a regular Wix filter, like this one here, a Wix one, $18, 5 micron filter, so it's particulates that it takes out are exactly the same. But when you open up one of those, your filter is twice the size. Okay?
Yeah.
That whole thing is a filter. So you're going to get twice the life out of that thing. When you go to replace it, 18 bucks versus, let's say 50 for one of those pieces of junk. Okay? And then this is also a filter that it's going to be readily available. You walk in and into O'Reilly's and say, hey, I need a filter for a 2005 Chevy Silverado pickup, and they can hook you up with one of those. How long these are going to be around, I don't know, but I hope not long. Okay. So when we get this truck done, it's just going to have one of these on it, and that no problem. Take and replace one of those. It won't be a hassle.
Okay.
All right, so and the next thing, that's the original valve off of this truck that changed from the 87 had fuel injection. Okay, it had a throttle body injection on it, so it had 10 to 15 pounds of pressure at this valve, and then it also had the 2 ports for the return on it to switch it over. These things, they don't work very well, and I've gone over that before, why they're just junk, and they're not designed to handle anything more than so how many pounds pressure? 60?
60 or 65.
65, I think. Yeah. So its max pressure is 65 pounds, and our fuel pumps that we're putting on put out over 100 pounds, and they run at 58, which is the threshold of this thing basically. So I absolutely will not use these. They stink.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I do. Oh, I know what I was thinking. Ever since I started in with this stuff, I always wondered why are people using these so much? Okay. And I finally figured it out.
Why?
Because you don't have to adjust them. So you'll put pressure to this thing, and it'll put out 58 pounds steady fuel pressure. So somebody doing an LS swap, or even myself, would love to not have to spend the time adjusting that fuel pressure.
Yeah.
So there you go. I figured it out just because of pure laziness. These have been a big hit because that's the only reason. Okay. So I have a solution for that, and what it is a fuel pressure regulator that does the exact same thing. It is not a filter, but there is no adjustment to this thing.
Sweet.
Okay, so today we are going to put one of these on each tank, and we will not have to adjust it or anything when we go to fire this truck up. And when the day comes that if it needed the cartridge replaced inside of it, you can replace just the cartridge for a lower cost, I would imagine, than what the whole thing costs.
Sure.
And on top of that, this thing is about half the cost of the regulators that I used to put in that had to be adjusted. So it's going to be an affordable thing for me to do. And it also mounts, they're going to mount back by the fuel tanks. So what's that do? Keeps fuel from going up into your, having to have a return line system up in your rails. Keeps the fuel cooler, which is also a great thing. So we're going to fix 2 or 3 different problems by doing this today.
Sweet.
Okay? So, let's do it, okay? We'll quit talking.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right, so on each tank on this thing, they're already installed on the truck, so we're not going to do that today. But it's the same as this tank, except this is a big tank. Each line, the high pressure side, has got high pressure fuel injection hose going to it. I use the pinch clamps, you know, I don't use the worm gear ones. And then even my return line is 225 pound fuel injection line, okay? So the whole system, the way we're gonna do it today, would handle 225 pounds of pressure.
Okay.
We can only put out 100, so that makes it plenty safe. And I think like the weakest point in the whole thing is the fuel filter.
Yeah.
I think they have a lower burst rate, okay?
Scary.
Well, hopefully we don't ever see them burst.
Ooh, yeah.
Right?
That'd be bad.
So each tank is up there like that. They have their 2 lines on. This one here is, I just showed you. I go ahead and I do the evap line 2 before I throw them up over the frame. And then I've got 1 wire going to my sending unit and 1 wire going to my actual fuel pump. And the wires that I run to it are 12 gauge copper wires. Make sure they're good wires. And I also quit using the connections, okay? Now I just connect them as close up here as possible for the fuel pump. These wires are just a bit smaller than 12 gauge. The shorter length of wire is, the more load it can handle, okay? So people have asked about that, why the fuel pump wires going through the sending unit are so much smaller. They can handle that load because it's a short length of wire. But I still go back on the pump wire and make it as short, not as short as possible, but I shorten it up a little bit. And then the rest of my wires are 12 gauge wires running all the way up to the fuse box, or what's going to be the relay for the fuel pumps on that truck.
Sweet.
On that truck there, I did 10 foot of wire on the left hand side, 15 feet of wire on the right hand tank. And it'll run all the way up to my box.
Sweet.
So that's it for the fuel tank. Holley Sniper fuel pump in there. Make sure you use a submersible line.
Yes.
And we've done videos on that before. Go back and watch them time and time again. And this truck, when it came to me, the fuel pumps were already done. I took a good look at what they were. They were like a cheap Amazon type pump, you know? And at a glance, it looked like they would be okay, but then I started looking at their flow rate, and they would have worked for a while. They would have been working like at the top of their, what would you call it?
The range.
Yeah, their range. So they would have worked, but they probably wouldn't have worked very long. And this guy's in Texas, and I don't want to have to go pick him up somewhere in Texas.
No.
Okay? So we put Holley Snipers in it, and we don't have to worry about the fuel pumps being port quality.
Yep.
Okay? Whiteboarded. So there you go. We've got our left-hand tank and our right-hand tank already installed. We've got that line and that line on both sides just hanging over the frame rail. So the first thing we'll start with will be going to our regulator. And our pictures are a little different. On the left-hand side, I'm going to pass straight through the regulator. That's another thing that people question us about. There's not an inlet and an outlet on these fuel pressure regulators. And when I say these pressure regulators, I'm talking about this style. When you see these, the adjustable ones, it's all the same. Whichever port on the pressure side, you can cap one of those off and tee that anywhere, which is what we're going to do here, just because we want to save some room. We're going to use a tee, but no matter what, your pressure is going to be 58 pounds here and through that whole line set, and this is your return that shoots out the bottom of the regulators, and it just returns that fuel. But this is just another port, just to make it handy. You've got two different ports to use this regulator, basically however you like to use it.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's some options.
Yeah. So, but on the left-hand side, or no, I'm sorry, on the right-hand side on this truck, one of these will be capped off, and we are just going to use a T on the line. But on this one, because of the space that we're running it through, we're actually going to go for pressure there, and then this line will also be the same pressure. So after that, after we get the regulator installed, both the pressure lines are just going to go into a T or a Y fitting on the left-hand side frame rail. I'm going to put a check valve in the lines right here after the regulator, because I don't know if regulated fuel pressure would bleed off and go through the return on that other regulator without a check valve. So I'm going to put a check valve in it no matter what. And then also, sometimes these fuel pumps, like the high pressure ones, like guys that are running 1,000 horsepower or whatever.
Yeah. Or
not these, but the actual fuel pumps, some of them have check valves. Most of them that we deal with we're just running a regular everyday LS motor, they'll have a check valve in them one way, but some of those high pressure, high volume pumps won't have a check valve in them. So yeah, for whatever you're using for a fuel pump, you would want to know that, because we're going to fix that problem here anyway. But like we would normally use that check valve that's in the fuel pump, so you don't have drain back real bad and a fuel pressure rail that doesn't have pressure in it and a long start when you go to crank it up. So, and then from there, after it goes through the T, it just is going to shoot through the filter, and then we'll have a rubber line going over to the engine, and then a steel line that leads up to the fuel rail. So that's our game plan. So let's go over to the truck and get started on it, okay?
Okay.
Let's just start on the left-hand side, okay? Like I said, I already got my fuel lines coming over. The 3/8 is the high pressure, 58 pounds. 5/16 is my return line, okay? I already have gone through and I kind of mapped out where I wanted everything or where it worked out. Every car or project is going to be different, but I am going to mount this right here using the one of the original strap bolts for the tank. Have it sitting right there, and we'll have to run our lines to that. And then this is the one that's going to go to a T, okay? So on this one, I just put a cap on the one pressure side of it. So let's bolt this in place. The strap, the hanger bolt, I drilled 9/16 hole through it, and I don't think we've said yet, but it's Racetronix is what the brand of this regulator is. And all the other little fittings that I had to buy for it, it made it, their website made it real easy to figure that out and get the right stuff for it. So I just had one shopping experience to deal with, and I didn't have to go to a whole bunch of other places. The other fittings that I got that they didn't have come from Summit, and then some of the other ones that I'm going to use today, Raw brought them to me, and so I'm going to use what I can that he brought me just to try to save some money, because like 90s and 45s and that of his 6AN fittings, they can be kind of expensive.
Yeah.
The other fittings, just the straight fittings, they're like $3 a piece, and not too bad at all. So, start with our return. It's just gonna go right there. I'm gonna make sure it's got plenty of slack on it because I'm gonna put a piece of conduit over it. So I'm gonna cut it off right there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get some new cutters. Actually, it's just because it's fuel injection.
Yeah, that hose is pretty tough.
Okay, I got the carp corral going.
Oh yeah.
5/16. Right. Pinch clamps, that's the only thing I use. Okay, we'll throw that on there. Yeah. Oh, I know what we're gonna do. All right, we're gonna use our fancy push lock tool, all right? Scott sent us this. I love this thing. We've been using it a bunch. Thanks again.
Yes.
We'll show you how it works in just a second. But I'm gonna take this isn't a push lock fitting, but I'm still gonna put a little lubricant on it, dielectric grease or something that won't hurt fuel line at all. Okay, get it started. Pinches the hose and come on.
Sweet.
There you go.
Easy sleazy.
Pretty cool. It only works on the straight fittings though, which is a bummer. If somebody made one that worked on the 90s and 45s, that'd be cool. Every time I do one, I'm gonna make sure I crimp it so I don't forget. These things are 11/16.
How many corns do those get?
10. You don't have to crank down on them. Just 10 corns.
Just 10 corns.
10 corns. So now on this one, we are going to put a 90 on it. It's going to be hard to see. I'm going to leave it loose because I'm going to have to pull that down and push a line into it first. But what we're going to do is we're going to use a T now. We're going to come out of our fuel tank. We're going to go to a T, and then the T is going to run to our regulator, and then our other line off the T is going to run over to the fuel filter, the Y and then the fuel filter. So I'm gonna figure out kind of where I want my T to be, and it'd probably work out about there. So we'll use a push lock fitting. I've got both styles of fittings that he brought me. That's a push lock fitting, so I wouldn't have to use a clamp on it. It'd seal up just fine. This is not. I'll have to use a clamp on it.
Okay.
All right, and having that tool makes it so I know I got it all the way in there.
Yes.
That tool is awesome, if I haven't mentioned it. So, I want it to be right about there. Get my length. Come on. There we go. Again, push lock fitting. So I won't put a clamp on it. So now I got to use brute force. I can put them. Oh, let's do it with the vise. I'll show the easy way with the vise. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a little edge there. I don't crank down on it. And so I use that vise. And I use my weight to push it up.
Sweet.
Okay. But not on this one. On this one, we can use the tool.
Yay.
There you go. Go.
Sweet.
So it'll go there. Okay. So, and then both of them have enough slack in them that I can put some conduit over them. Because otherwise, of course, they're gonna sit there and rub on the frame rail right there. So put something on them to protect them. So I have this already from another one sitting around. I had it sitting around here, so it's already done for me. So I'm going to use this piece.
So then that'll go up and over.
Yep. All right. I like to use as much hard line as possible for a few different reasons. We'll go over that. But also, I'm going to use what little bit of length I have here, but I'm going to make a bend in this line that's going to come straight down and meet up with this hose, and then it'll run over here and pass down past the regulator. I hope it should be long enough, and then that'll give me my length, getting me over to the Y fitting over here. So, tubing bender. It should just be a matter of a 190-degree bend over here. I'm just gonna make a guesstimate. It's steel line. It's not copper or anything, and you pretty much got to use a tubing bender to get a bend in it. Otherwise, it just kind of folds over and collapses. I'm going to want it to be right about there, and I'm going to want the other side to be about the same. So I'll mark it with my finger. The center of the bend. Same direction as the other one over there. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, look at that. Collapsed. Great. Not what we wanted.
So that piece is just
Junk.
cool. What causes it to do that?
I don't know. Probably being too cold.
Yeah.
Alright, let me get another piece.
Two over.
I do have this stuff in a coil around here, but I like using the straight line. It looks nicer when I'm done, I think. I hope we don't have to resort to using it. Somebody gave me that idea too.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I do it slower.
Talk nicely to it.
Yes. Okay. All right, that one worked good.
Okay.
Good. Maybe it was just a bad piece of tubing. So then on each one of them, I guess I want to bend it down a little bit. Let's see, so I'm not right. Give that a try. Yeah, so that's why when I go and I buy this stuff at O'Reilly's, I don't buy just one or two pieces of it. I buy, if I think I'm going to need one piece, I'll buy 3 pieces.
Yeah.
So. So, you got to get this off. I'm gonna make a flare to replace that one. That flare is a double flare and it's kind of too big. I always think it's gonna damage the rubber line, forcing it over it. So I still just make my own fittings off. Don't need those. I'm gonna add a little bit more bend to it right there. Same thing on this side. Right? So, flare tank. Okay, I already took the burrs off of it with this one. Clean that up. Stick it out the length of the tool. Put the tool on it. That's a double flare tool, but we're not going to make a double flare. We're just going to put a flare on it, something to keep the hose from being able to pull off of it because of the hose clamp.
Yeah.
Now they crank it about half as much, and then I'll pull it off and take a look at it and see if that's about what I want it to look like, and that's just right.
Okay.
Okay. Do one on this side.
I think you cleaned that one out.
Oh, that's right. Thanks for reminding me.
Let's keep them track.
Set it with the gauge again. Oh man, how many fewer flares am I going to have to do now doing it this way too?
Yeah, that's true.
Which is nice.
A lot less lines in general.
Yeah, not having to do a return line saves a bunch. Okay? It's kind of what I like.
Yeah. Sweet.
Oh, I want it to be a little further over, and this stuff is pretty forgiving about taking some bend out if you have to. And then if you want to add a small bend, because I'm going to attach it to the frame once I'm all done.
Yeah. So you want it close enough to tie it down?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so got my line the way I want it. I'm going to have to attach this line to it. So I got to see where I'm going to cut it off. I'm going to put 2 clamps on this one and push it on as far as I can for 2 clamps. And so hold it right there. So 2 clamps.
Don't forget your clamps.
Okay. Looks good there. Use my other ones. I bought these too. These things are super handy. These will do. They'll do it sideways, so I get in on tight spots.
Ooh.
But they work great for just starting it.
Yeah.
Then I can finish it with the other.
It's kind of the pain of the pinch clamps. Getting the tool on.
Yep. And these are ratcheting ones, so you don't have to be strong.
Yeah, like me.
Our left side then, except for these being loose, is done. And then, you know, when I'm done here, I got to tighten everything so nothing wiggles.
Yeah.
You know, but so now let's move over here. Same thing over here. Here's my two lines. On this one, I already drilled my holes for my regulator. I'm going to bolt it in now. Oh, there's just enough room for me to get my little fingers in there. Make sure my fittings are tight. Oh, that's also a little port for a gauge, but it'd be awfully difficult to look down here and see it.
Yeah.
So I don't bother. So this line that I'm doing here, that's going to be my pressure line coming in, and I'm going to make sure it doesn't have a big kink in it. And I can't take it over to the bench, so this one I'm going to have to use brute strength because it is a push lock fitting. Okay.
Yep.
So grease it up. Okay, make sure it's all the way in. Make sure your hose isn't kinked.
Okay. Okay.
All right, so that's the pressure line coming to the regulator. Do the return line. For the return, I bought a 90 for it because I knew it was going to shoot off that direction. We'll set it there, and then it's probably fine, like right there.
Okay.
Not a push lock, so it will need a clamp. Grease it up. Yeah, force it on. Clamp it. Oh, and also, I didn't mention, both these are available for, you can hook vacuum to them, like if you have boost or some kind of power adder. So, they would work. They'll work on the 70 when we put a turbocharger on it.
Ooh.
or the 82.
I thought we were going turbo on the Camaro.
I don't know. I'm thinking the dually with a 6-liter turbo.
Ooh.
Okay, so pressure coming in, pressure or return line going back to the tank. So that's all your fuel system's going to be doing. Everything from this point on is going to be just going one direction, basically. So that'll keep the fuel up at the engine cooler.
Okay.
Same thing from the other side. The other tank's doing the same thing. So your return is not getting heated up by the engine.
Sweet.
Which cuts down on fuel vapor.
Yeah.
So now we'll have to figure out where we're going to put our Y block. And then in between our Y block is going to be the check valves going between here and that line, and then here and that line. So this will be the line that goes to our fuel pressure regulator. On the other pressure side, get it started. Fancy tool. I should have you do one of these.
Just to prove how easy it is.
Yeah. This makes it so easy, a woman could do it.
Brother.
Right after you do that, run in and make me a sandwich. Alright. So. Okay. So. How am I doing on my OKs? Am I hitting all my quotas this time?
I think so.
Great. So I just picked that line because it was sitting there, so we'll probably use that. So let's add our check valve. Here's our check valve. We want, on this one, we want fuel just flowing that way. There's only room for one clamp on it. See the arrow? Mm-hmm. Also, on my other systems that were just one tank, only one fuel tank, I quit using the check valve in them because that Holley pump, that check valve works just fine, and I was able to not put a check valve in that, which is nice because it just adds to the cost of everything. Yeah. And it's one more potential thing that could leak, which you don't want.
Yeah.
So we need a line that's going to go between there and there. But I got to figure out how much length I got because my fuel filter is going to sit right here. So let's add the fuel filter, and then we can make sure that we're not getting too long here. Okay. Fuel filter, 2005 Chevy Silverado. Okay.
Yep, we'll have a part number and links in the description.
Not a 2000 Corvette.
No.
Okay. All right. So something to hold the fuel filter. I made that. You can buy them. You can buy a little holder for them. They're cheap. I like to make them. That way I can kind of make them go exactly where I want them. And it just sits in the holder and is hose clamped in just like any other. Easy to replace. Doesn't cost a fortune. And twice the filter.
Yeah.
Right? Or what the filter should be.
Yeah.
So these have an O-ring General Motors fitting. I do have a tool to make those, but in this case, I just bought this line. It was cheaper and saves me time. Okay. The links in the description, I'm sure, to all the part numbers on this that we used.
Oh, yeah.
You'll do that, right?
Oh, yes.
This was the same as that straight one, but I put a bend in it with my bender. So it worked to put a bend in it, no problem. I already drilled a hole for it.
Sorry, Juice. Hold on, Juice's ear's messed up. Okay.
Juice, you look silly. You almost tipped me over. I was just kidding. I was only joking. I'm being stared at.
Oh no. Are you upset? You're upset? Yeah, I know. Oh, Ripley's upset too.
Yeah, if we play this out long enough, we can get a treat, maybe. Alright, it's in a nice hidden spot. I won't have any problem running my exhaust through there. I'll make the pipe stay quite a ways away from it, but if I didn't, I could build a shield that would bolt to this lower cross member or to the frame. I'd probably do it to the cross member to shield it like an aluminum piece.
Oh yeah.
To keep the heat off of it, but in this case, I don't think it's going to be a problem. I checked with the weather, and it doesn't get above 65 degrees in Texas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so 65 is about their high. It goes from negative 20 to 65 Fahrenheit is their average temperature.
Yeah, yeah. Little known fact.
Yeah, so we got that covered, no problem. All right, so that's how long we need to go. We're gonna have our T-fitting in there. I always try to use as much hardline as possible, but in this case, since it's like such short runs, I'm gonna use hose. It'll function great. It'll look nice, and the hoses are in a spot where they're not gonna get rubbed on anything. And then I'll fasten them down too. So from here I can go and just make a short piece that goes from here to there.
Okay.
Hose clamp, another push lock. This is a push lock fitting. We won't have to use a clamp. Okay.
So strong.
Thank you. Thank you. So another piece from there to there. Grease it up. Yeah. Love that thing. It's gonna go from there to there. I think I figured out the cutter's getting a little dull is why. It's being a problem. And it's not long enough for 2 clamps, so we're just gonna go with 1. Okay, so now we just need to do a line from there to that one. And I know that one we can do 2 clamps on it, so we'll make it that one. Alright, so then we need a check valve in it, so I'm going to come back here and cut that much out of it. Put it about the same spot in case somebody's looking for it, you know. Put 2 of them together. Make sure it's going the right direction towards the engine or towards the filter. Going to need a clamp. So there's that one. We'll slip it over here, and basically we're done all the way up to the filter.
Sweet.
Right? Got my clamps. Did the whole thing. I didn't forget any clamps. One clamp probably would have been fine, but 2 is always better. Oh, why am I doing that? Fighting with it when I could have just done it right here. Ooh, I bought these on Amazon too, and they work nice. We'll have to put a link in for that.
Oh, yeah.
I bought them just to do the sideways pinch, this one, for doing power steering hoses, because I'm always going to power steering hoses sideways. So it does them sideways, which is awesome.
Sweet.
Not the right size wrench, but you get the gist of it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll go back through and I'll make sure everything's tight. Both of our check valves are pointing towards the filter. So pressurized fuel is going to come from the right-hand tank, not going to be able to go back that direction. And same goes for the left-hand tank. When it's running, fuel's going to pass through the fuel filter, not going to be able to go back anywhere towards the right-hand tank. So that portion of it is done. Now we have to get fuel up to our fuel rail. Between your frame and your transmission or your fuel rail, however you do it, it's got to be fuel line. It can't be hard line.
Yeah.
Because everything moves and bends a little bit, so it's got to have some give. So I will show you how I do that.
Okay.
Let's go into the warm portion.
Oh, okay. Cool.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna make a steel line that runs up the side of the transmission and then goes up to the fuel rail. Okay, there's a rubber line that goes between the fuel rail and the steel line, but I still am gonna have a steel line that comes down here and goes and leads off to the one off of our fuel filter. If you go to buy any of that stuff, those places, if you look around, they will tell you absolutely don't use steel line, use rubber line all the way from your pump all the way up to your rail. Do you know why they would do that?
No.
Because they sell that stuff.
Oh.
Okay. If that was the way to do it, you would buy a Chevy pickup and a brand new Chevy truck, and it would be hose all the way from the fuel pump up. They hardline them as much as possible. Hardline put someplace and held firmly is not gonna, you're not gonna wear a hole through it.
Yeah.
Rubber hoses, the more you have of it, like the fuel injection hose is a lot better, but hoses do, over time, they'll end up deteriorating. So the less you have of the hose, the better. It's just gonna end up either in your fuel filter or anything past your fuel filter is going to be up in your injectors if they're not, the pieces aren't small enough to pass through the injector. Okay, so that's why I steel align everything, and it's also a lot easier for me to fasten a steel line solid than it is to do a rubber hose.
Hold it tight.
Yeah, so not everybody's got an extra transmission sitting around. Back in the day when we were first doing it, I didn't either, so we used the transmission in the engine before we actually put it in the truck. We didn't do this swap, but we're doing the fuel line today, and that's what I would do before I put the engine in, is some of this stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can see what you're doing.
Yeah, so what I do is I can go and I look on this thing, and I know that the fuel line shoots up straight up right about here, and then it goes to a hose and it goes to the fuel rail. So I'm going to start off with getting my line there, but on a square body it gets real tight between the doghouse and the what would you call it, the body of the transmission right there. So I'm not going to run the line straight through there. I run it over this hole, that hole, and then I run it along here and down and out. And then I know where my fuel filter was. I looked on that truck, because each one of them kind of ends up being different, and it points out right about there, which is great because I'm going to use that hole as a spot to fasten this line still on the transmission. Plus I'm going to make a bracket that holds it up here also, so that the steel line is held firmly. So this is where I screw up a lot. unfortunately. I think that I've got twice as much line as what I need here, which is great because I might have to do it twice if I don't get it right the first time. But I'm gonna go up, I'm gonna go over, and then I'm gonna shoot this straight up. And it's gonna shoot up about 3 or 4 inches. So from that line, that's great. I'll take and use a marker and mark where I want my first bend. It's fuel day. The 74 is actually in here for a fuel pump.
I know. Can't get enough.
Yeah.
Different kind of fuel pump.
My 74 was trying to break down on me.
Surely not.
So this one pretty much goes at a 90. So it's that one. And somebody, whoever's doing their own, they can do it however they want. I'm just saying this is the way I do it, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not saying it's the only way. Or maybe you're using a 408, you know, different transmission. So it's gonna go right about there. And now I want it to come along this line right in there and dip into that crevice just a little bit. So I'll put a mark right there, kind of where I want the center of the bend to be, the inside center.
Hey.
And that one, I don't make that much of a bend. I like where it's going there, and then this stuff is kind of pliable, so I'll just take and bend it a little closer to my transmission.
Okay.
Okay. Now I know that was where I wanted my next one, so that's my inside. I may do this whole thing and not screw it up.
Don't say that. You jinxed it.
I might have practiced last night.
Ooh.
So, got my bend in there. Just got it marked where I want it. And that's not a 90, so I'm gonna go, oh yeah, that tool's got a little bit of increments on it, so that's like an 85 or 80. If you're not good at judging that stuff, which you aren't.
No.
Okay, so I know I don't want it pointing down that much. So first I'm going to do this bend. I'm going to bend this up straight a little bit from right there.
Okay.
Okay, because I made my mark there. I know I want like the center of my bend right there. Real nice, Pepper.
Yeah. Whatever you're gearing up for, don't.
Is it kind of straight up?
Pretty good.
Alright, so I'm good with that. I know I don't need it that long, so I'm going to cut it off right here and then we'll go try it on the truck.
Okay.
Okay, let's give it a try. It fits pretty nicely, okay? We don't want it pointing downhill like that. We don't need it to point downhill. So I can come back here, give us just enough room to bend it up and then put a hose over it. And we'll basically kind of shoot it level. Okay. And then we'll call it good. And even the length is good on it.
Pretty level.
Yeah. Now we got to put a flare. Pepper, get off there.
Pepper, you're gonna scratch that truck.
Is your family coming for the holidays again?
Well, yeah, of course.
I'm putting my foot down this year.
You about what?
Every year, same old stuff. They drink too much eggnog. Next thing you know, we've got 2 Bigfoot hunters, a couple of fishermen, and a couple of weird kids that got abducted out of their parents' back seat of their car on the way to Dairy Queen.
I know.
And then we gotta feed them before they take them back. I'm not doing it again.
Oh,
Gets old.
It was a great time. Remember 2 years ago when the cow showed up?
Yeah, how could I forget? They're just weird, okay? And they're gonna wear the shirts this time at the dinner table. Okay?
They don't like to get messy.
I don't care what your weird planet tradition is. This is America, and you're gonna sit at the table with a shirt on, okay? I'm gonna go ahead and do this side too, because it looked good. It was pointing straight up, right where it goes. Yeah, before they get here, they always got to do a bunch of high-speed passes over the Mediterranean somewhere. Then the next thing you know, we've got the Air Force buzzing over the house looking for them for the first 2 or 3 days that they're here.
Yeah, but I mean,
Sick of it.
I don't know. My idea of a good time and yours are 2 different things.
These cats are always afraid of them. They're scared to death of them.
Well, there was that one time.
Oh, that was the last flare.
Yay!
So, our hose. The other thing too, I bought this hose at O'Reilly's, and I happened to notice when I was doing it, there was a little nick about 3 inches in on one of them.
Ooh.
So now I'm like in the practice of, I look the whole length of it over, grab it, feel it, make sure it's all right.
There's a hole in it somewhere.
Yep. All right, so this will be our line that goes up to our injector rail. And then this will be the line that goes to our frame rail over to the fuel filter, from the fuel filter. Okay, so up on the fuel rail, it's going to get a stainless steel fitting. I'll have to clamp it, okay? But I'll get it up there, and I'll cut that to length, and then I'll do that afterwards.
Okay.
So at that point, set this thing up there, and we'll measure off our length, and we'll put it on the end of our other line. Okay?
Okay.
So let's do that. Okay. Now my line is, my exhaust is going to shoot through this hole here. So I'm going to keep that up as high as I can keep it. Ouch, just pinched my hand fat.
Oh no.
Those on. I don't need to have that on there. Do this. So that'll work. That. Oh, that's one clamp. It doesn't. I'll cut that other one off. Instead of pulling it out of there. Also, before I actually put this line on for the last time, I'll blow it out, because if there's something in it, you know, it's past the fuel filter. So I want to make sure there's nothing in it. But I'll take that clamp off, of course, and the fuel lines are done.
Sweet. Looks really nice.
And these are the evap lines. I'll have to run a hard line for the evap system across there, and then I run a steel line right next to the fuel rail line up to the evap on the engine. Okay.
Okay.
But we've done a video on that. But basically, I do the exact same thing for the evap system.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right.
I like it.
Great. Good answer. All right. While Emily's editing this video, I'm going to be putting the exhaust back on it, getting a couple other little things done. And the next video we put out, we are going to fire this baby up. And it's got a great big juicy camshaft in it, okay? So, and it's got 3-inch exhaust, so it'll be a lot of fun to start up.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go through the whole process of what it takes to wire it, to make it do that. And I'm excited about it, and we hope you are too, okay?
Yep.
Got anything to add?
Yes, we've been adding some stuff to our merch store. We got sticker packs. We got 2 different kinds of hats. Be sure to go check those out. We really appreciate your support. As always, we hope this video helps you out. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out. And we appreciate you guys watching, and we will catch you next time.